We need outtakes.
We do.
To watch what we're doing. I'm actually popping a Red Bull because I'm trying to go off of Red Bull. But I didn't have a coffee today, so I'm going to start the show with a Red Bull. Sugar-free, though. Tyler.
I'm a daredevil today, Ronnie. I am on 0 coffee this morning, 0 caffeine of any kind, and I went to bed at an ungodly hour last night, completely unintentionally.
What were you doing?
I was just not tired. That's just what it was. I was not tired. I turned all the lights off. I took some melatonin. I tried everything I could. I counted sheep. I tried to hallucinate sheep. Maybe that would make me more tired. It didn't work.
Sometimes my sheep start jumping so fast that I can't count them.
No, I ended up just chasing them around, trying to get more tired. Didn't work.
I'm just noticing. I always forget to take off my mask when I come in here. It's like Tyler and I do stay a distance away.
Yeah.
I know sometimes it doesn't seem that, but also, hey, Tyler, it's been a problem. Oh, I got to put my stuff on silent. So it's been a problem finding wet wipes. I'm anal. So Tyler and them don't know I'm the first person in the building. And so when I come in, I sign in. I come in, I take my temperature, I do our little check. But then I go through the entire building and I wipe down all the door handles, including the ones out front where you guys come in. I wipe down anything and everything. And then if we have disinfectant. But wipes have been really hard to find. So like when the pandemic was starting out, I was able to only find a ton of baby wipes. And so I noticed we were running low on wipes. So I broke out our baby wipes. I don't know. I figured if they're good enough for a baby, they're clean, and they're going to at least clean the surfaces. So you're going to be smelling a lot of green tea and cucumber here in the next few days here. Well, the next few weeks here in the studio. Tyler's like,
good to
know.
know. Good to know. It is good to know, because otherwise I'd be saying, well, why does it smell like green tea in here? I have no clue what's going on. Maybe I am hallucinating because, of course, I did a terrible job counting the sheep yesterday.
And you got no sleep.
It's true. I got some sleep. I got enough to live.
Oh, Tyler. Tyler's like, he really does work extremely hard for Civic Center TV and all of the people in West Bloomfield. I don't think the general public, Tyler, understands exactly what all you do for us and for the community. As someone that is also someone that is a Keiko Harbor resident, I want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
To all of our small community of Keiko. We all appreciate you. I sing Tyler's accolades absolutely every single day. So, hey, okay, well, we're through that now. This is Tuesday?
It's Tuesday. It is. It's Tuesday.
It's only Tuesday.
Yeah?
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
No, today is only Tuesday.
It is. It's only Tuesday. It's only Tuesday, Ronnie.
Oh, nothing like throwing your work week off when you think it's Wednesday and it's only Tuesday.
Don't get your hopes up. Always expect earlier.
But still a lot to get to today. We have a great show here on the Oakland County Megacast. As you know, we are here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. And we are on CivicCenterTV.com. Birmingham Area Municipal Access, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff if you're out driving around in your car. Also, if you are cable subscribers, we want to say thank you so much, because you actually help support this programming and so much more that we do here at Civic Center TV. So channel 15 on Comcast, channel 99 on AT&T. But really one of the easiest ways to try to catch us is just go to CivicCenterTV.com. After each and every day, Tyler and Jake and the awesome staff here at CivicCenterTV.com, which is the two of you and Larry, who's our Zoom producer, who is also amazing. You guys go through and you break down all of the interviews and you post them up on CivicCenterTV.com. The great thing about us, Tyler, I think, is that we are able to give these interviews that do go on at length. And I know some people say, oh, but they're too long. But it's really so that you can hear them directly for yourselves what everyone is saying.
Yeah, you don't get much out of 2-3 minutes. You get a lot more out of 20 minutes from people. You get more of the details you need. And sure, in any explanation, there's some filler information there, but you get a lot of substantial information that you're probably not getting in a 5-minute interview also.
And I will say, you know, as a broadcast journalist, it was the hardest thing was trying to break it down sound bites in these interviews, because we would have maybe the same interview, not to the length, but maybe the same interviews, 5-10 minutes, and you had to break it down into 30 seconds. And so you're missing so much. And I felt like I was coming home and there was so much I couldn't put into the story. So one of the great things that we do here at Civic Center TV is that we are able to give you the full long length interview so that you can get all of the information for yourself and find out. We do really try to work to find not only the newsmakers, the decision makers, but also the people that are directly impacted by the pandemic here, not only in Oakland County, but the greater Metro Detroit area and across the state of Michigan, because obviously a lot of the decisions that are being made are coming out of Lansing and they impact us locally. So that really is our goal here on the Oakland County Megacast. So we want to say thank you for those that are tuning in for the first time. I had some Facebook friends yesterday who said, oh, I stumbled across it. I didn't know you were doing this. So here's where I am right now. How I ended up here is a long saga, but I was a Kegel Harbor Greater Communications, one of our cable communications
Commissioners.
Yes, commissioners. And great time here because you guys do so much. And I will say, prior to my time on the Cable Commission, I was approached by the mayor, Mayor Kalman, to say, hey, can you be on our Cable Commission? And at the time I was working for ATF, kind of everywhere. I was covering Chicago. I was like, I don't really have time. He's like, no, please, we need you. And I will say, prior to that, I didn't pay much attention to what you guys did. I'm sorry, Tyler,
That's
to
okay.
tell you that, other than when you covered our Kegel Harbor parade.
Yeah.
But since being on the Cable Commission, I will say it's definitely opened up my eyes as to all the hard work and the great service that you do, and the entire team here at CivicCenterTV.com. I think one of the best things coming out of COVID is going to be the fact that people now understand the importance of what our local, state, and county representatives actually do for our county.
Oh, yeah.
And the good thing about CivicCenterTV.com is you can catch all of those interviews directly here. Be a part of the decision-making process. It's so important. And Tyler's like our knowledge guy because he has to sit through all of these meetings, but I think it's so important for people to understand, and going into the upcoming election, remember to do your homework and vote on your local leaders as well.
Yes, they're just as important as those high ticket battles such as the presidency and so on. Your local government officials are arguably more important to your day-to-day life than those positions such as the presidency. So focus as much energy on both. Certainly don't take one lightly and the other one and put the other one with all of your energy, but use equal energy across all of them. Do your research, do your homework, and then you'll make an informed vote.
Exactly. So, and with that, let's go ahead, and my rambling is over. I'm giving accolades in a long roundabout way, so I apologize. Welcome to the Oakland County Megacast, and today in our headlines, you can always catch the headlines on CivicCenterTV.com. Detroit Lions are still very hopeful they can host some fans at games this season, perhaps as soon as their November 1st matchup against the Colts at Ford Field. But the governor's latest COVID-related orders, which opened indoor venues such as theaters and bowling alleys, continues to prohibit indoor gatherings of more than 500 people. Yesterday, in a very long-reaching interview with MLI, the governor pretty much said she's not going to make any exceptions for professional sports, and obviously she was talking about the Lions. So many Lions fans are hopeful, and I will say, probably even more so coming off of Sunday's game, that they want to get back into the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, when you win a game in the late stages by just a few points, well, when the other team's playing horribly, you get excited from that, and fans still, even whether they are liking what they're seeing from the Detroit Lions or they hate what they see, they want to go back and see it in person. It's a different experience for the players to play without fans in the stands and for the fans to watch the games entirely from home with nobody at Ford Field. That being said, Governor Whitmer's got to make a decision that is safe for the general public, and I don't think people being subjected to Lions football and violently vomiting all over the place is safe during this time.
Look, it was a good outcome.
It was. I'll take a win any week, but that win.
We don't care how they get a W. They just got a W. Also on CivicCenterTV.com, no surprise really here. COVID-19 outbreaks continue to spike in Michigan schools. Coronavirus cases linked to outbreaks at Michigan colleges surged 72% in 1 week, surpassing 3,800 cases in a report state officials say is likely an undercount of the total cases linked to campuses. Meanwhile, the number of Michigan K-12 schools with confirmed COVID-19 outbreaks jumped 64% in 1 week from 28 schools and last week's report to 46 this week. Happy to say there were no new outbreaks listed for schools here in Oakland County. However, the state is still monitoring 5 ongoing outbreaks at schools here in Oakland County, and that does include Oakland University, Tyler.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that we're 2-3 weeks into the school year for most of these districts, and when you're coming back into the school year and you have that focus in place, a concerted effort at following the guidelines that you have in place, following those precautions to a T, and practicing that day after day, week after week, you're going to do a pretty good job. But then you get into that 3rd week and that 4th week of school, and your habits start to come back to form in their regular form, and that focus starts to wane a little bit, and then you have situations like this. So it shouldn't be all that surprising. I think, we wait a few more weeks and see if it continues to be on an upward trend of cases or if it levels off. This may just be one of those situations where at some point you're not going to be able to continue on with a completely different way of living than you're completely normalized to in a school setting, and things like this are going to happen.
We have such a long road to go here, Tyler. Attorney General launches a criminal investigation into Unlock Michigan. Unlock Michigan, that's the group of petitioners seeking to end Governor Gretchen Whitmer's emergency powers, is under criminal investigation for allegations that gathered the necessary 500,000 signatures improperly. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel said her office is looking into the group's tactics, which are aimed at repealing the 1945 Emergency Powers of the Governor Act. Petition is backed, of course, by the Michigan GOP, and if enough signatures are valid, legislator takes up the initiative and approves it, well, the law can be repealed without the governor's signature, which, of course, she would veto. However, if the legislature votes the initiative down, it could be left up to the voters during a future election. I will say one thing on this one. It just doesn't look good. I understand that there are all sides to this issue, and there have been the videos come out where the guy that was in charge of trying to get these signatures was saying inappropriate things and kind of encouraging people to get them. And I don't know if it's illegal, but let's just say shady ways to collect some signatures for this ballot. However, we both know Dana Nessel is appointed by the governor. So she is going to take this issue up. How fair and balanced is this going to be? And as much as we would like to think that politics does not play a part in our lawmaking decisions, there is a fade over into all of these different groups and these different organizations.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of when I saw that article break yesterday, was the optics of it are not good for the Whitman administration, particularly for the Attorney General's office, because they do work so closely together, and they have been working hand in hand and been in line with each other from day one of this pandemic. And with a referendum being organized by members of the general public against Governor Whitmer's actions and in hopes of repealing her powers under the Emergency Powers of the Governor Act of 1945, that protection from the Attorney General does look like it is a concerted effort from the highest levels of the state government against the will of the public, so to speak. So the optics of it, whether or not it is that, we don't know, and we aren't going to know for a while, if at all. But the optics of it don't look great for Dana Nessel.
You can get all of the day's headlines on civiccentertv.com. Normally we would jump into a break here, but I kind of went on a long intro rant here, Tyler. So instead of doing that, I'm so interested in hearing from our first guest. So let's just go ahead, take a deep dive into the show today here on the Oakland County Megacast. Tony Comperchio, he is the founder and CEO of the Professional Golf Planners of America. Tony, we welcome you to the Oakland County Megacast, and I have to say, I have been a part of so many of these golf charity events. This is awesome what you guys do. So for those not familiar, give us the background.
Sure. Good morning, and thank you for having me today. Appreciate the opportunity. So Professional Golf Planners of America is a Michigan-based golf company that primarily specializes in customized golf outings for charities, businesses, and private clients.
And with that, what has it been like this year in the pandemic? Because I would imagine a lot of things have been canceled. However, golf was one of the first things to reopen.
Yeah, but because of the scare of COVID, obviously, we had many events postponed until 2021 with the intentions and hopes that some of the restrictions imposed this year will be lifted. Revenue for us is down 60%, as you can imagine. I'm sure it's hurt a lot of businesses in Michigan and throughout the entire country.
Tony Comperchio with us. He's the founder and CEO of the Professional Golf Planners of America, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast this morning on our family of TV and radio stations, and also on the Facebook page of my co-host Ronnie Dole here today as well. So for those that maybe are not familiar with what a professional golf planner does, could you give us a little bit of insight on that and how that makes a difference in planning some of these large golf outings, especially in times like today where there's a lot more variables at play?
Absolutely, appreciate it. So obviously, I'm a certified golf tournament consultant. Believe it or not, there is a national organization that we're members of. We have several members of our team that are certified golf tournament planners. And so there's an credibility that gets put into this variable, and part of that is we allow our clients to save as much as 70% of their time that they spend on their outings just by bringing us aboard, not to mention the additional benefits of hiring a subcontractor for, say, some of our charity organizations where we're a tax write-off. So one, there's a savings on their staff hours, and two, there's the tax benefits of hiring a professional. So each client is different and unique. The way that we structure our company is that one client might want event day registration support. Another client might want golf ball launch cannons, which is a different and a unique kind of a fun aspect to a golf outing. And then there might even be some opportunities where they need help with golfers and sponsors. So really, it's an a la carte kind of a situation. No two golf outings are the same. We've had golf outings where we've actually had speed painters, DJs. So it really depends on the tone of the event and what the client is looking for.
And Tony, so many of these groups, especially nonprofit groups, are relying on these golf outings to help them fundraise and, help them with their mission in whichever organization that they are trying to promote. Give us a rundown on actually how it works. How much money can they make off of some of these golf outings?
So obviously this year is an anomaly, right? Typically first-year events, depending on the services offered in cost, golf course location, all of those variables get put into the decision-making process. So we established our subcommittee, if you will, a cross-referencing of clients and our staff, and we begin to mold what their event's going to look like. So as a referencing point, first-year event, 5 to 10,000 is realistic, depending again on the golf course. Obviously, the charges that the fees for the golfers and sponsors have a direct impact on the kind of we call it event net revenue goal that they can expect to receive at the end of the event.
Founder and CEO of the Professional Golf Planners of America. Tony, I would imagine that you're an avid golfer. That's how you even got into this?
You would think. I started this is our fourth year in business. And prior to starting this, I used to play 50, 60 times a year in Michigan. Unfortunately, the commitment to the business, I typically play about 5 to 6 times a year, and most of it's outside of the state during the off season. So as you can imagine, with a seasonal business, you have to do what you can to meet the needs of your clients.
That's really interesting that you say that you play outside of Michigan. So I will say, going forward, so we seem to have made it through the first phase of this, and obviously we are going into the end of the golf season. However, it is still nice enough out for people to be able to play. What is the best time for someone to try to come up with some of these golf outings? If I have a nonprofit and I want to do one of these, what's the best time? Because I will say sometimes in the middle of the summer, we are getting so many invites for so many charities. How do you pick and choose, and what's that competition like?
Typically for us, we tell our clients it takes 4 to 6 months to pull off a successful outing. Now, our outings are unique in terms of the amount of effort and planning that goes into it. We also transform the day of the event. We have a bunch of banners and signs and archways. It's really creating that ambiance, that special feeling for the golfers and the sponsors that come out. We encourage our sponsors to set up tables and tents and chairs and distribute their wares to the event participants. So with that in mind, 4 to 6 months is usually the norm. The golf course is the key, because depending on which golf course you're selecting, some of them book up at least a year in advance. So as a point of reference, we have our next outing, which is Monday, October 5th at Cracklewood, which is in Shelby Township, and that is for the breast cancer awareness. And so that event we started back in March. So as you can see, we have a title sponsor, which also helps the event, right? That is kind of the driving force. So Hut Pink De-Icer is our title sponsor for this event. And proud to say this year we've decided to donate the proceeds from this event to Shades of Pink, which is another Michigan-based nonprofit that specializes in breast cancer.
And obviously October is Breast Cancer Awareness year or month, so we appreciate that you're doing all of that. Tell us a little bit more about the event. Are there still openings, and what if people can't actually play? Can they donate in some different way?
Absolutely. So we create another one of those unique services, an event registration page. And if you don't mind, it's progolfplanners.com/breast cancer. And so that'll take you to the event registration page. So for non-golfers, people that aren't interested in just coming for dinner, because that's an option as well, you can donate directly to the charity on that registration page. And registration for that particular event is open until Friday for the sponsors and Saturday of this week for potential golfers.
Tony Comperchio with us. He is the founder and CEO of the Professional Golf Planners of America, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. So in the times that we're in, Tony, people are obviously still golfing. Our golf courses were one of the first organizations and businesses to have reopened during the course of the pandemic. How are you and your team and these organizations that you're planning these outings for modifying their planning to incorporate COVID-19 and the guidelines and safety precautions that have to be in place into those plans?
That's a great question. Obviously, we've developed as a company a COVID preparedness plan following the strict guidelines of CDC. So what that means and how that correlates to a golf outing, not only do we deploy the social distancing markers on the ground through the registration tent, so we're cognizant of the distancing part. Each of our events this year, we've given in the golfer gift bags a mask and personal hand sanitizers. In addition to that, some of our stations that we have, our golf ball launch cannon, for example, where we'll set up a tent table, play it forward, hole in one. We also deploy not only our value statement with COVID, it's also the recommendations from the NGCOA, which is National Golf Course Owners Association. It has basically a placard that kind of explains the need to distance. We also have the hand sanitizers on those stations as well. So even your typical golf outing this year, due to COVID and the guidelines, we've had to alter our plans to accommodate them.
So, Tony, so many nonprofits have actually turned to doing these golf outings as a fundraising measure. What would you want them to know as to why they should hire you and it's beneficial for them to do so versus trying to do the event themselves and maybe working directly with the golf course?
So the efficiency part of it is obviously attractive. As I mentioned earlier, reducing our clients' time by 70% and allowing them to focus on maybe other activities within their organization. In addition, I think you look at the tax benefits of hiring a contractor. And then we also, with some of the relationships we have with golf courses, we have preferred pricing models. So we, in turn, it's a pass-through pricing to our clients. So those are the three major factors in addition to the transformation of the golf course. I mean, it is not a typical golf outing when you show up at a PGPA event.
That is so true. We live on the West Bloomfield Trail across from Pine Lake Country Club, and we can tell when they have one of these outings. We like them because we find a ton of golf balls because there are some really, really bad golfers out there, right?
Just because they play golf doesn't mean they're good at it. But, that's one of the things that makes the sport so exciting and fun, right? I mean, you can play with all different handicaps if you're competitive. So you can take a 12 handicapper and play with a scratch golfer and kind of put them at level playing field. In addition, you want to talk about business networking opportunities. You get into foursome with some of your clients. You've got the captive audience for at least 5.5 hours. So, that's a unique aspect too. Whereas if you're in the office, you jump on the phone, how likely are you going to be on the phone with that particular potential client or client for 5.5 hours? Not very.
But I feel like that puts pressure on people that aren't golfers to be able to go out and learn the game of golf. Do you recommend that for some of your clients that are putting on these golf outings?
I'm pro golf, so as much as you can learn about the game, go for it. But it all depends on the
I'm
format.
pro putt-putt, by the way. You need to come up with this with putt-putt golf. Then I'm in.
Well, we're talking about a lot of different and unique things that we're going to be launching here in the very near future. But getting back to the question with respect to golf, depending on the format of your event, so for example, next Monday we have it's a shotgun scramble format, which means you basically have 4 shots and you take the best of 4 shots. So it takes the pressure off of a non-golfer. And it might even be in a case like for yourself, you get on the green, there's 4 putts. So if you can envision tee shot, there's 4 shots, the approach shot, there's 4 shots. On the green, say if you're fortunate enough to be on the green in regulation, it may be making a birdie putt, there's your opportunity there to contribute to the team.
Tony Comperchio with us. He is the founder and the CEO of the Professional Golf Planners of America, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. Tony, just a few more minutes with you before we will have to let you go today. Is there anything else that would be important for our audience to know about what your organization does or any other information that we haven't discussed so far today that you want to speak about?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're launching a couple of new initiatives later this fall, early spring. Golf course staffing for us is going to be a big component to that, where golf courses are actually in need of help. You talk about the implications of COVID and how that impacts your staffing. We have a solution to that. So we're in negotiations with several golf courses to provide that support to them. In addition to some of the other initiatives, expansion for us is very important. We're looking to grow outside of the state of Michigan, and we've got several states in mind as we navigate our way through the rest of this year.
Tony, I love that you're doing this because so many nonprofits really are turning to different and various avenues to be able to raise money for their organizations and the great work that they do. I do want to say, just as someone who loves golf, for those of us that are more putt-putt style golfers, what advice would you give us, or is there a YouTube page or something that you could give us to be able to first update our lingo so we don't sound like idiots? Because when you're talking about scratch and handicap, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going out there to shoot the first couple things and then I'm going to be the shot girl. Not that I've done that. I maybe have done that, Tyler. I'm not a good golfer. And I will say my husband is a diehard golfer, and he tries to get me out there, but I don't want to play with him because he takes it too seriously. I want to go and I want to have fun. And I think there are a lot of people like me who don't take part in these events because they're intimidated. So for people like me, or for people that are intimidated by the game of golf, and if it's a scramble situation, which you're saying is much more friendly, what advice would you give to them prior to participating in an event?
So obviously lessons are important. The more you can actually hit the ball, practice, go to the driving range. Most golf courses have golf pros that give lessons. That might be a good opportunity and a good way to kind of test the waters, so to speak, to see if you really do enjoy the game. In a case for yourself, I would take advantage of your husband's offer and get out there and play. There's courses in certain times of the day that you can play where there's not the pressure of somebody hitting up behind you or needing to rush through the golf round. So those can be stressful, but I think there's enough opportunities there to start the practicing part of it so that when you do get out in a scramble format or in an outing, you shouldn't have anything to be concerned with.
Yeah, but there's a pressure of my husband. So no pressure of the guy behind me, but there's a pressure of my husband. Hey, Tony, quickly though, for people who maybe want to participate in one of these, but maybe they don't have golf clubs, that can be an very expensive endeavor to dip into. Can you rent golf clubs and the equipment that you need?
That's in addition to one of the services that we offer. Most golf courses that we do team up with to put on our outings do have the ability to where you can have club rentals. I would suggest, though, you don't wait to the day of. That'd be something you could work through with us, whether it's a righty or lefty, stiff shaft or flex shaft. Get into those technical golf terms that you seem to be concerned with. But all those discussions need to happen in advance if you're looking to rent, because you might be able to rent a set of clubs for $50, as opposed to buying a set of clubs where, if you get your fairway woods, your driver, and your irons, could be a couple thousand.
I'm just laughing because when you're talking about all the different clubs, for so many people who don't golf, it's so intimidating. You're like, yeah. I'm always like, which one should I hit? Okay, I'll hit this one. So just go ahead and play with someone. Typically, in a lot of these golf outings, though, just to wrap this up, is that they're out there for people to have fun because they want you to support their organization. It's not about what you do on the green or how far you can hit or this, that, and the other. It's just really about going out there, having a good time, and being a part of an organization that you do support.
One of the main reasons why in my business model that I decided to venture out and do this for a living is exactly that. I've never had a golf outing where people would leave, majority of people would leave the day and be disappointed. It is such a feel-good experience. Yes, there can be some stress involved with respect to maybe not being comfortable with your game, but once you get out on the course with your foursome, and usually you'll know the people you're golfing with, it is a blast.
Tony, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your insight and all the great things that you guys are doing over there. By the way, the inaugural breast cancer charity golf outing is going to be taking place. Cracklewood Golf Club, that's in Macomb. It's benefiting the Shades of Pink Foundation. And registration begins at 9. People can go ahead. How much are tickets, Tony, real quickly before we let you go?
So golfers are around $150, and that includes the full spectrum of the day. So open driving range, there'll be some pastries, coffees, juices, lunch at the turn, dinner and awards ceremony. We're blessed to have Dr. Benita is going to be there as our special guest speaker. She's a co-founder of Shades of Pink. Obviously, Troy and Linda Clogg, which are the owners of the Hot Pink De-Icer Company, are going to be there as our title sponsor. So it should be for a pretty amazing and remarkable day. And as I had mentioned, registration's still open. Visit progolfplanners.com/breast cancer.
Thank you so much. So many people out there in the community have been impacted by the breast cancer disease. And so we appreciate your time and everything that you're doing to try to help get the word out, but also to raise money and awareness for this great event. And I will say, Tony, when you guys do one on a putt-putt course, I'm your girl. I'll be there.
There you go. I'll write that down. Appreciate your time today. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. This is the Oakland County Megacast. We're going to take a quick break here. And then when we come back, we are going to be switching gears just a little bit. We're going to be, who are we going to next there, Tyler?
We'll be speaking next with Wren Hack from Hazon Detroit. We'll get an update from some of our local food banks and food pantries.
That's always great news as well. So we're staying on the topic of helping our community. Sorry, I have too many pieces of paper laying here in front of me. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jonae Khaldun. I'm the Chief Medical Executive for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The people who are at highest risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 are the elderly and those with chronic medical conditions. That includes people with heart disease, diabetes, COPD, or those who have compromised immune systems. People who are in those categories should right now be staying at home as much as possible and not going out if it is not essential. If you fit into one of those categories, those are the things you should do. And if you have a family member who fits into one of those categories, you should be checking in on them and making sure they are following those guidelines. There's something everyone can do to protect the community from COVID-19.
Thank you for tuning in to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keith, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. We are here in the Civic Center TV studios and the studios of 89.3 Lakes FM here in Greater West Bloomfield. I have to say I was surprised. Tyler's just telling me that he used to be a caddy. He did not jump in on that conversation at all.
That's because I was one of those special kinds of caddies that had zero idea what he was doing in terms of golf. I was the least helpful strategy. As far as strategy goes, I was the least helpful caddy possibly on planet Earth.
But at least you spent more time on a golf course than I have.
Sure. That doesn't mean a whole lot, but you know what? It's something. I'll take it.
It's so intimidating. The game of golf can be intimidating if you're not a player. But let's go ahead. I'm excited to have this next guest with us, Wren Hack, Executive Director, Hazon Detroit, with us on the Oakland County Megacast. Thank you for being with us. We have to ask, do you play golf?
I was laughing as you were both speaking. I used to vacation out at PGA West out in Palm Springs.
Oh my gosh.
And of course, never picked up a golf club. I don't know much of anything of the game. So while that interview was going on, I was like, I'm right there with you. It sounds really interesting. And I have friends who love it, but I'm not there.
Wren, you and I will meet on the putt-putt course. How's that?
Exactly. That's a little too stressful for me, though. I'm not sure I can do that.
Thank you for being with us, though. We appreciate your time, non-golfers alike. let's just start off. Could you tell us a little bit about your organization? You guys are doing incredible things here in Metro Detroit. Thank you so much for what you're doing. But share with our listeners and viewers the background.
Thank you. So we are a national nonprofit Jewish organization that works in environmental sustainability. And typically, prior to COVID, that meant we support organizations to become greener, organizations and individuals. So that can look different in many ways, anything from learning how to compost, gardening, to learning how to put in solar, learning the benefits of LED lighting, water conservation. And so that's what we normally do in good times. For us, we're not in those times right now. So we have vastly changed our direction.
And when you're talking about changes, talk about those changes and what those are.
So when COVID hit, we had a little bit before COVID, about 6 months prior, we had taken on food rescue as a form of diverting food from going into the landfill, understanding that when food waste goes into our landfills, it ultimately becomes methane, which does not help our climate and adds to climate change. And so we were supporting the community in, as I mentioned, food rescue, in that we would rescue the overages, let's say, from community events, from bar and bat mitzvahs, from weddings, and we would move it to places, to pantries mainly, that could utilize that food so that it wouldn't end up in the landfill. And that quickly grew when COVID hit. A week into COVID, because of our connections, we began getting calls from warehouses and letting us know that they had food that had been already ordered and was in the system, and there was no way to stop the food from coming into Detroit. Yet, unfortunately, restaurants, hotels, schools could not take it. And so that was our first step in moving that food to pantries that could use it. That has, I can't remember. I was trying to remember the last time I was on the show how many pantries we were serving then. I think it was in the neighborhood of 17. We are now serving over 40 pantries, and it is with rescued food. It is with farm-grown food. We have farmers that so gratefully grow food for us, and that we can move to places that need it. And we also work with the Food Rescue US, the Farmers to Families program, in moving that produce. But a lot of our work consists of driving around to either box stores, grocery stores, restaurants, and taking what they would normally throw away. They can't use it. It's not up to par for, a golf pun, for what they would have on, be able to sell. So we pick it up, and we have a database, as I mentioned, of over 40 pantries, and it's literally going down that database and saying, oh, who can use cases of tomatoes? Who can use cases of bread? Who can use cases of cauliflower? And we just move it throughout not only Detroit, but as far out as Springfield Township. Some of our food goes to Flint because they are in need. Redford, Rosedale, West Bloomfield, pretty much wherever there is need, we'll take the food.
Wren Hack with us, the Executive Director of Hazon Detroit. Just the last time we spoke, just a couple months ago, it was really early on in the pandemic, you had mentioned that you were supporting at that time just around 20 food pantries and organizations in the community, and you mentioned now you're right around 40, and that's more than doubled. Across our area, How much more severe of a problem has food insecurity been from your perspective and from the perspective of the organizations that you help to support? How much has that issue that was already a major issue before the pandemic been exacerbated by COVID-19 going on for as long as it has?
It has exasperated incredibly, sadly so. I think at the last time when we spoke, we had the stimulus, the extra $600 in unemployment, and that was going a long way to keeping people from falling off the cliff. When that stopped, we saw an immediate uptick of people in need, not only in the cities, but in the suburbs. We're supporting pantries in West Bloomfield, in Farmington, in areas that you would assume would be okay. They're not okay. We're getting calls pretty much on a daily basis of not asking us for food, but asking where can they go to get food. The decisions being made by families now are, do we pay the mortgage? Mm-hmm. Do we pay the electrical bill? Do we pay the heating bill? Or do we buy food? And we have come across so many people that have literally not eaten in 2 days, or have, I spoke with a woman last week who said, I am just so tired of eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Can you help me out? Where can I go to get some food? So it has really pushed the pantries and food banks that were in existence to their absolute maximum capacity. And on a good note, it has, from a grassroots efforts, created many pantries literally on people's front lawns. And that's an incredible thing, where the community has answered the needs of their neighbors. I think I mentioned at our last interview, neighbors helping neighbors. Well, it has grown 100-fold. We have numerous pantries now literally on people's front yards who are serving 250 families. We had one in Redford that actually started on someone's front lawn and got so large, the neighbors are like, this is great, but we have no place to park anymore. And they moved it to the Thurston High School in Rosedale. And the lines that are coming are absolutely incredible. West Bloomfield, Temple Israel has the first and third week of the month, they put out a pantry, and they were serving 80 cars. Now they're serving 280 cars. There's another synagogue in West Bloomfield that wasn't serving anyone, and now they started out with serving 4 families, and then it went to 7 families, and now it's at 42 families. It keeps growing, and the need, every week you're finding people running out of the resources that they didn't think that they would run out in such a short time. So it's dire in the sense of the amount of people in need, but what's so heartening is the number of people who have come forward and say, I can help, I can give, I can provide, I can volunteer. And that's what's allowing us to get through this mess. And I think allowing us to be able to make sure someone truly is not going hungry.
Wren Hack with us on the Oakland County Megacast. She's the Executive Director of Hazon Detroit. And Wren, you wonder about these families that have swallowed their pride to be able to go get food. But it can be confusing as to where to go, because as you just mentioned, there are so many places offering these services now, but they don't know where to go or the times and the days to go. Is there one community calendar that puts this information together for the public in need?
Yeah. Oakland County does put out a food pantry list. I'm afraid it's probably a bit outdated because of the need that's has arisen and the response to that. But what I would suggest to people is they call their local governments, their city governments, their township governments, and ask them. They also call, if they have a church, they call their church or synagogue and ask them, where can I go? And they also can easily, and we welcome it, please call us. We, like I mentioned, we not only have a database of whom we serve, we also know who is out there. And we're constantly connecting people. And what we don't want is someone sitting at home, perhaps listening to this and saying, oh, I'll call maybe next week. Please don't go without. Please, if you know someone, and likely you do, that's the reality of today, is likely you know someone who is not eating as they once did, who is not perhaps eating what they need to. Nutrition is a key component to staying healthy during these crazy times. And if you know someone, please, put them in touch. I had 2 weeks ago, I had a friend of a friend call. I don't care who calls us. And I don't think anyone else does either. It's most important that we just get the resources out to people. And every week there are places popping up. And I think that's why, we can call Oakland County, certainly. They want to help. You can call the food banks. Hospitality House in Commerce is Oakland County's largest food bank. They certainly can be a resource to not only supporting people, but to also helping direct people. But if you just say like, call me. I have no pride. I have no skin in this game. We are not here to, there is no money on our plate, so to speak. We're just trying to keep food from getting where it needs to go and staying away from the landfill, because we have the ability to feed. I believe we have the ability to feed everyone. It just takes work to move it around.
And I love that you're mentioning that, because like you said, nutrition is key. I did a homeless retreat in Detroit, and bless the hearts of so many of the organizations that are trying to feed the needy in the city of Detroit, but it was very hard to find nutritious food. So now that these restaurants are stepping up and realizing they don't have to throw their food out, that they can donate it, but this food has a shelf life. So how are you able to mobilize to get it from point A to point B before that food spoils? Do you need more volunteers to make that happen?
So we would love volunteer drivers. We literally I begin picking up at 7:30 in the morning, and by the end of the day, anything perishable is gone. Or if it's, for instance, if it's meat, typically we pick it up. If it's frozen, we have places, thankfully, the community has stepped up and provided us with walk-in freezers, walk-in coolers, storage place. We've had synagogues who've said, listen, we don't need our social hall, take it. And we literally have pallets of non-perishable food stored there. We have a meat warehouse in Detroit that gave us the ability to store 10 pallets of frozen chicken to be able to help us get through the winter. But I'm sitting at my home, but I just had two of three drivers who've already left with cars full to go. They will be going out to, I think, 7 different places, and I've already been to 2 places this morning. So it's a matter of getting the food and getting it out quickly. And that's where our database comes in. That's where we have one of our team's full-time job is logistics. She makes the calls. She finds out, she knows whether their pantry is open or not, what they are looking for, whether they can take the food, whether it's culturally appropriate. You mentioned nutrition, and I just want to mention something that's I think is important. This is not a time for us to educate anyone on what they should be eating right now. It is a time for us to be feeding people. And I say that from Hazon's perspective. I think Gleaners and Forgotten Gleaners does a fantastic job of trying to educate on nutritional eating. But from our perspective, it is not for us to tell someone what they should or should not be eating. It is for us to be giving them what is appropriate in the sense culturally, what they will eat. You bring kohlrabi to somebody and they're going to look at it and say, what is this? I bring kohlrabi to, Southwest or to the Bengali community in Detroit, and they're like, super, great, we love it. But it's a weird time that we're in. It's a very special time, and it's a special time in that anybody can help. This is not a time of like, well, I'm an elderly person. I need to stay in my home. I can't do anything. Yes, you can. You can help us. The old saying was, it takes a village. This takes a community. This takes a state to be able to make sure everybody's fed and taken care of. So there's many things, from filling snack bags that we provide to the Detroit Police Department to helping us purchase food or products that we aren't rescuing to make sure all pantries are covered. There's any number of things. So please know that anybody can help, and everybody can do something. And especially everybody can do something even if they're in need, because we need those people to get to the food that's available.
Wren Hack joining us. She's the Executive Director of Hazon Detroit with us today on the Oakland County Megacast. Wren, on that note, if people do want to get involved in helping this cause, either with your organization or with other organizations, what do you suggest they do? What can they do right now in order to begin helping people in their community with the organization's help?
So they can always call us. They can reach out to us on our Facebook, Hazon Detroit. My biggest suggestion is call your local food pantry. Again, fairly easy to find through either Oakland County or calling us and asking them what they need. There are, sadly, a lot of pantries are receiving things that they don't need. That's where we come in, and we're thrilled to pick up those items. But if you're going to donate, ask ahead of time. And the other thing is, anybody can do, if they go to the store, buy an extra box of pasta, buy an extra box of canned goods, macaroni and cheese, tuna fish, any of that sort of thing. I actually challenge one group I was speaking with is that, when you go to the grocery store, try buying 2 of everything and seeing what it's like to have to, like, kind of in a sense, stretch yourself and take that food and either call us and we'll pick it up, or bring it to Shir Shalom on Walnut, Congregation Shir Shalom on Walnut and Orchard Lake has an outdoor bin that anybody can drop off food. They pick it up every day. They get it to us. We distribute it amongst the 40 pantries. It's reach out. Either reach out to a pantry, reach out to a neighbor that you believe is housebound and may be in need, reach out to your churches, your synagogues, just reach.
It's so beautiful what you and all the people there, your volunteers and your entire community are doing during this time. We hope to have you on as the pandemic comes near the end to be able to talk about your main mission and more about what you guys are doing. But real quickly, before we let you go, can you again, you have a website and you have a Facebook page. Can you give that out to all of our viewers and listeners?
Absolutely.
So if they do want to get involved or just to learn more about your organization and what you're doing to help the community.
And thank you for that. Our website is hazon.org, and that is our national website. You can get to Detroit through that. You can also get to us through Hazon Detroit on Facebook, and you can find my bio, my contact information on there. I recommend you if you have any questions, call me. And also, just to give you an idea of where we are since June, and we have rescued and redistributed over 170,000 pounds of food, and that's the crumbs. We are not a gleaners. We are not a forgotten harvest. We are merely picking up the crumbs that have been left behind. And that gives you an idea of how much food is out there to be redistributed. And we are thrilled to be a part of this. And my last note is, please don't forget our beautiful, beautiful earth and the fact that we do need to take care of it, even in this pandemic. So do what you can, whether it's to recycling, use what food you can utilize so that you're not wasting food, only buy what you need. And as we move out of this, just as you say, I can't wait to get back to taking care of the environment, and with that, in the recognition of everyone is being cared for, and hunger is not the issue that it is today. So thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate your time, and look forward to coming back.
We all appreciate what you are doing as well. Wren Hack, Executive Director, Hazon Detroit. Please check them out. You're listening to 89.3 WBLD on Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH, Bloomfield Hills. Doing so much. Let's hope if anything comes out of this crisis and this pandemic is that it brings us all together to love one another, care for one another. And one thing we are seeing is how much food is wasted. So we can take that waste and feed another family in our community. It is a beautiful thing. So Wren, thank you for your time. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Key.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Parks COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keefe. Running just a few minutes behind because, Tyler, I like to talk. I can't help myself.
Happens. It happens, Ronnie.
The best thing about this show, I love meeting so many people doing so many great things within our community. We are so lucky to have so many individuals that are committed to improving where we live and stepping outside their comfort zone and putting their schedules aside to reach out and to help one another. So if anything comes out of this crisis, let's hope that that is it. So with that said, we're gonna shift gears, as they like to say, just a little bit. I was trying to think of a theater term. You're good about these segues. Give me a theater segue. Besides break your leg.
Well, that was the first one I was going for.
No. Okay, so now we're going to, let's bring in Tania Velinsky. She is the treasurer and the historian of the Village Players of Birmingham. You guys have an amazing little gem of a theater over there in Birmingham. Just recently, the last to be announced to be able to reopen your doors. What's the plan going forward?
Going forward, we have taken everything into that looked at every possibility of doing shows. And we're currently rehearsing 2 shows. One is a one-man show, so everyone's able to stay distance, called Buyer and Seller. That is going to be performed on the stage. We're going to record it, performed on the stage, and then stream it out November 14th and 15th, 8 p.m. So we'll all sit and watch the stream of the recording at that time. And we're also rehearsing a show called Bells, which is 6 women. It is a play of Southern sisters. It takes place, it says it's 6 sisters and 45 phone calls. So they're all over the country. So we're actually going to record that over Zoom, which is, it's probably the most appropriate show out there to do over Zoom. And we'll be broadcasting that December 4th and 5th. So we are heavy into rehearsals for both of those.
What has this been like? Do you even have enough money in the piggy bank to be able to keep the doors open? And how long, if so, how long do you think you can continue to maintain the theater?
We are lucky. Village Players is in a very good financial spot. That we have some very good, fiscal minds. That we do have an endowment that we can survive several years, and we've been also very lucky with our membership. That at this time we've had most of our members have rejoined. So and have been very generous with making donations to the theater to keep us going. And it's not just fiscally to keep us going. We have worked very hard. A group is not money. A group is the people. A group is the fellowship. So we've worked very hard to come up with ways to stay connected with our members, to stay connected with our patrons. We've done a lot on YouTube. We now have our own YouTube channel. This has all been new since the pandemic, and we've been posting videos from clips from previous shows. And we're lucky to have our own Playwrights group called Playwrights at Work. It's always been a mission of Village Players since we opened to encourage new works. So we have a whole group of playwrights, and we have posted several of their shows. 2 of their shows were made into movies. They're up on our YouTube channel, and we have a new piece written since the pandemic called The Shopping Trip of a couple during COVID, and some discussions about purchases at Costco.
Tania Velinsky with us. She is the treasurer and historian at the Village Players of Birmingham, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. So as the historian of the organization, is there anything that even comes close to comparing to these times in terms of having to creatively modify what's taking place in the Village Players of Birmingham in order to accommodate shows during a special time or a unique time in the world around us?
Probably the only time that compares to this is World War II. That I've actually, been back through the history during World War II, they hit a point where they couldn't do shows in the winter because they couldn't get the heating oil to keep the theater open. That any meetings that had to happen in members' homes. But they were still able to put on shows. They adjusted the time of their season. That they adjusted. They had members that were in the military. And they also reached out to the military bases that were in this area, and went and did shows. There was a military base in Pontiac that they went up and they did special performances for the soldiers. And just having to deal with rationing and, how do you have a party? In order to come to the party, you had to bring your ration coupons because you were going to be eating this much food. People needed to supply food. It was really probably the only comparable time in our 98-year history to what we've been going through now.
So thinking back on that, it gives you a little bit of gratitude that we're not quite there yet. When do you anticipate being able to actually reopen the doors, and what is that going to look like?
That is the big question. That we have probably 10 different contingency plans for, are we going to be able to have people into the theater, in the next couple months? Is it going to be longer than that? The governor just put out the notice that, theaters can open to 20% capacity. However, you still have to have the 6-foot spacing, not just for your patrons, but for your actors, for your technicians. So you've got to be able to maintain that. Can you do a show on stage where people don't get within 6 feet of each other? Mm-hmm. So we have a show ready to go almost, that Tenderly, the Rosemary Clooney musical, which is just 2 people on stage. However, because they can't get within 6 feet of each other, we're not quite ready to launch that yet. We're following the notices both from the state and what are the professional theaters doing? What is Broadway doing? What restrictions, what is Actors Equity saying you need to do for actors? We're looking everywhere we can to do what can we possibly do? We need to keep everybody safe. The most important thing is that everybody stay safe.
So I'm guessing we're not going to see any love scenes and no kissing and no hugging up on the theater stage right now.
Yes, it is going to be a long time. That we have had the thought that if we cast a married couple, that would make all the difference. So we are looking at shows. What are 2 people shows that a husband and wife could do, or a parent and child, people who are living in the same household, so that they don't have those restrictions.
COVID has caused all of us to get a little bit creative about how we do things and how we look at life. I know that you mentioned that the theater has, you now have a YouTube page, but is a YouTube or the internet still replacing what you get from the theater? And how do you try to entice people to engage in YouTube? Because there's so much content out there.
There is. We're hoping that with the local connection, with we have a long history with our patrons. We have some very loyal patrons, and with many people in the community theater, that the community theaters have really come together. We're supporting each other with everything that we're trying to do. That we really feel confident that we're going to be able to get good support for that. I think people are starving for things, for stories, for new content. That there's so little on TV now. You've streamed everything there possibly could stream off of Netflix and Hulu, and just to have an evening, and we're setting it as a special evening. We could have just put them up and let you stream them anytime you want, but we feel have it. The show's going to start at 8. It's Saturday night. That it's a special event. We're hoping that really brings people in to bring back a little bit of those special nights that going to the theater.
Yeah, that appointment setting time frame. I was even thinking about that last night, just in general, when we're watching television. It's not like back in the day where it's like the show came on Tuesday at 8, and if you missed it, you missed it, unless you had a VCR and you could set your VCR, and heaven forbid you actually learned how to program that VCR to set that time when you weren't home. So it does kind of come back, that thrill of, hey, this is a special time and a special event. How is that working, though, when you're saying, hey, we're going to sell a ticket for this, you're at home, but your ticket gives you access to this window on the internet? How does that platform work?
Actually, the publishers have put together a package. We go, we sign up. We tell them we're going to be doing buyer and seller November 14th and 15th. We give them the video. They set up the ticketing. They set up the links. So we're not relying on the internet from Village Players. We're not relying on YouTube. That obviously the play publishers are all greatly hurting in these times, and have been scrambling to come up with ways to be able to still lease plays. That nobody's doing in-person plays anymore, and it's actually almost changing day by day what you're able to do now. When we first started looking back in June and July, there were no shows available to stream online. You couldn't do a Zoom show. That nobody was allowed to do anything. Everything had to be live. And week by week, it's changed. The number of shows available, the options of how to do this has changed as we all get settled into, we're going to be doing this for a while. And in fact, even once we get back in the theater, there's now this whole new option of possibly, doing a mixed season. Do you do some stuff in live and you can do some stuff streaming? That it's a question, what is theater going to look like once we get out of this? Yeah,
that is the silver lining coming out of this, that you are able to reach people well beyond Birmingham and the Metro Detroit area. So this could be something that sticks around for you.
Yes. That I'm actually in Bells, and I am looking forward to sending out the link to all my family and friends who don't live in the Detroit area, have never seen me perform. And I'm hoping that they'll all tune in and actually get to see what my passion is, why I spend all this time for so many years.
Tania Velinsky with us. She is the treasurer and historian at the Village Players of Birmingham. Just another couple minutes with you, Tania, before we let you go today. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about today that we haven't discussed, or any other important information for our audience to know about what's going on at the Village Players of Birmingham?
The most important thing to know is to go to our website, birminghamvillageplayers.com, and sign up for our email list. That will get you immediate access. These two shows that we have coming up, we are working on getting them the final setup to sell tickets. As soon as we're available to sell tickets, if you're on the mailing list, you will get notified. We also have a local theater Thursday we have set up. We post something new to Facebook every Thursday, and you'll get notification about that. In November and December, we're actually doing a 5-part broadcast of The Two Gentlemen of Verona. We're doing it like an old radio style show. We're going to post the show. Two Gentlemen of Verona has 5 acts. So we're going to post 1 act every week and have a number of our members and friends of Village Players who are taking part in that. So we have an awful lot of content. And we're also going to offer a playwriting class in November. So we are looking at every way to reach out and offer special things for our patrons and our members.
So will that playwriting class be virtual?
Yes. It's a 1-hour class. You just join. It's on a Thursday. I believe right now we have it set for November 19th. But again, if you go to our website, birminghamvillageplayers.com, and sign up for our mailing list, you will know exactly when it happens, and we'll receive the link.
And quickly, your YouTube page, is that also Birmingham Village Players? And
yes.
So people can find it if they go to your website.
Yes, there's a link to it from our website, and if you go to YouTube, search for Birmingham Village Players, you will find our page.
Tania, thank you for being with us. I will say I went to school in the South, College of Charleston, so I love the concept of your upcoming production, The Bells, so I'll be trying to check it out as well. Thank you for being with us, and we're hoping that COVID-19 doesn't end the creativity of our plays, because while we all love to watch a movie, there's nothing like seeing a performance in person. So we hope you continued success and that the theater over there can keep its doors open. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love that little theater, Tyler. It's so great to have in our community.
Yeah, it's a great little theater. They do a lot of interesting productions. And during this time, we've spoken to other local theaters as well that have been creative and have started doing more original productions as well, and doing them virtually and doing whatever they can to continue to entertain their audiences, even if they can't be on the stage during this time.
Exactly. We want them to be able to come back to the stage. So check out Birmingham Village Players. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about something a little bit different, taking on a little bit of a serious note that we all need to be talking about and addressing. We'll be speaking with the president and CEO at the Oakland Family Services and all of the programs and services that they offer at the Oakland Family Services. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the medical director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you for taking time out of your Tuesday to tune in with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keefe. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, we work to bring you interesting long-form interviews from newsmakers and people making such a difference in our Oakland County community and beyond during COVID-19. Our next guest that we want to bring in is Jaimie Clayton. She is the president and CEO of Oakland Family Services. Jaimie, we appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
For those not familiar with the Oakland Family Services, can you give us a rundown of what you offer and your mission over there?
Absolutely. Oakland Family Services is a nonprofit private agency. We're a family service agency, so we serve the entire family from actually pre-birth or neonatal all the way through older adults. Our mission is to provide individuals and families the opportunity to build brighter futures. And we do that through our programming, which falls into three categories: prevention, education, and treatment. In prevention, we're really working in that sweet spot of 0 to 4-year-olds. It's mostly home visiting and parent support programs, foster care, adoption. We're really working to prevent abuse and neglect, or at least stop it from happening further, and working to prevent trauma. In education, we're very proud that we have 2 Great Start Readiness preschools. So that's a state-funded preschool program for 4-year-olds who are at risk of entering school not ready to learn without prior intervention through a preschool program. We do tuition-based childcare at both of those centers also. We also do a United Way funded program where we help to actually train child caregivers to provide higher quality childcare, whether it be in their home or through licensed childcare centers like ours. And then in treatment, we do the full scope of behavioral health treatment, mental health and substance abuse, counseling and services, again, through children all the way through older adults. We're a specialty provider of substance abuse treatment services for adolescents and pregnant women or women at risk of losing their children due to their substance use. We're also a provider for Oakland Community Health Network, which is the community mental health provider in Oakland County. We specifically serve 7 to 21-year-olds through that service. So we do it all.
You do it all. And in the middle of a pandemic, there is such a need for your services because we are hearing abuse is up, substance abuse is up, domestic violence is up. But at the same time, you're limited, I would imagine, in the ways that you're able to reach your clients and the people of the community. So how are you trying to navigate bridging that gap?
Yeah, well, we have been saying since March now that while the buildings were closed, we were still open. So I am so proud of my team. We pivoted in less than a week to 100% virtual services for those funders that allowed us to do so. The only service we weren't providing immediately was our preschool and childcare service. And within 2 weeks, we were even providing that service, connecting with families and providing some enhancement educationally. So luckily in Oakland County, really all of the funders through the state, the county, our various grant funders, even the insurance companies really stepped up and supported the need that safety net services were essential, always, but particularly in this pandemic. And you're exactly right. All of those things you said are happening. They were happening before the pandemic, and now they're happening on a greater scale. So we have continued to provide virtual services, whether it be therapy, even our home visiting parent support. We're doing those sessions virtually and observing families. Our buildings are open now that the stay-at-home lifted, but most families still want virtual services. People are really not ready to be face-to-face in offices yet. So we're going to continue to provide the services the best way that we can and reach the most people that we can.
And when you talk about the virtual services, how does that connect with the people? Is it more difficult or easier for some people?
You know, it really depends on the person and the family, like you'd expect. We do our best to individualize services. A lot of our clients are involved in multi-systems, multi-generational systems in foster care or in intergenerational poverty. A lot of criminal justice involvement. There are families that are in multiple systems, and so their lives are more chaotic. Some of our clients don't have their driver's license or access to good transportation. So for some, going virtual has actually increased their engagement and their involvement, because very few of our clients don't have access to a tablet, a computer, or even just a phone to do something virtually. And so for a good amount of our clients, engagement and participation has actually gone up. Newer clients, it's harder to engage virtually. People aren't quite ready necessarily on the first time they're getting therapy to do that virtually, but we have strategies to welcome and engage them beyond that. We will see someone in the office face to face if they really need that and they want it. We have the safety precautions in place. But frankly, doing therapy with a mask on, or, because all the offices are not 6 feet apart, is less engaging and feels less comfortable than doing it like we're doing our interview now, because at least we can see each other's full facial expressions. So we have actually found more people, eager and willing to try virtual than not.
Jaimie Clayton with us. She is the president and CEO of Oakland Family Services, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. Jaimie, let's talk a little bit about mental health care during this time, because we have seen that there's been various tolls being taken on people of all different kinds in all different areas in Oakland County, in the state of Michigan, and throughout the country. In terms of mental health care, how have your services changed, and what are some major holes in services in our local area that you're helping to bridge on that front?
Yeah, Oakland County is actually very lucky. We have a very strong continuum of services. One area that Oakland Family Services fills specifically is we take Medicaid. We take nearly all the Medicaid different HMOs that there are, and many providers can't afford to do that. The biggest issue with mental health is we are underfunded dramatically for one of the most critical services that there is. So, for example, Oakland Family Services can lose anywhere from $40 to $70 per session that we provide, just because we use Medicaid, take Medicaid as a provider, and we don't get reimbursed the actual cost. So we use grants to supplement that, because we feel as a safety net provider, taking Medicaid, which you have a huge amount of people, especially with Medicaid expansion, on in our area. And as I was saying before, we deal with a population that's high in need, that lives in poverty, or is pulling multiple jobs together and is what we in the industry calls underinsured. They have insurance, but it doesn't cover everything fully, or they can't access it because they can't afford their deductible. So we're using grants to offset that loss in cost, and also to help people if they can't afford copays necessarily in a time of this high of need. I will say that while demand has gone up, follow through on engaging in treatment in some situations has gone down, and that is not uncommon. We saw the same thing in 2008 when there was the financial, fallout and the recession. People who have high deductibles or copays, if you think about, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, are you worrying about your food and paying your bills versus a deductible for a therapy session or a copay? You might see that as an extravagance when we see it as basic needs, right? We consider mental health treatment a basic need, a basic health need at this point. So we're really working to encourage people when they reach out to engage in those sessions. Typically, once people start, they keep coming. So we've seen those demands, and we're working hard to be sure that our therapists are, have a bunch of different times that we're available. So we do early sessions in the morning, we do later sessions in the evening for those people who are not unemployed and are currently working and working to maintain that employment. We're working hard with moms who have kids home virtually. And don't know what to do and how to fit in their session. One of the struggles virtually is people feeling like they have confidentiality in their own home. So our therapists, we've done a lot of offering resources and training around helping people switch that mindset and modality. If you're getting treatment someplace else, what does that look like so that people will still engage? And making a lot of resources available and normalizing people's stress level. A lot of our clients engaged before the pandemic because they had other mental health issues going on. And so now all of this on top of that is really making these times even more stressful. So offering the opportunities to schedule and engage when it works for people most, ensuring that we have a wide swath of availability. And for our therapists, my therapists are all working remotely. So it kind of takes the those regional boundaries down. So my therapists have typically worked at different locations, and that doesn't matter anymore. We can increase our availability because people can serve anybody anywhere. And so that's really where we're aiming for.
I love that you're bringing up mental health, because prior to the pandemic, I feel like this was a huge issue that was on the back burner that wasn't being discussed enough. However, now it is being pushed to the forefront, and it is more comfortable and more acceptable for people to start talking about mental health issues. But let's say I'm a parent at home, stressed, trying to work remotely, teach my kid remotely, and trying to make ends meet, paying the bills. How do you know when to seek help and when you're just overstressed?
So I think it's a really individual decision. At Oakland Family Services, we talk about the moment of truth, that everybody has this moment where they're suddenly ready in a different way. I think it's great that a lot of our national publications have been putting mental health out there as a primary concern, and again, normalizing people's stress. What we say is you don't have to be in a major depression or having panic attacks to seek help. Like therapy, counseling, support, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes we just need something outside of our world, something more objective. And I think while we've all been stuck at home, I've been talking to people about their marriages and their relationships, and those are under more stress than ever. Whoever imagined being home all the time and maybe sharing workspace with your partner, plus trying to manage your kids at home. And so one thing that virtual therapy does afford is an opportunity to be outside that circle. And you don't have to have a major mental health diagnosis versus what you just mentioned, which was just being stressed. Just being stressed is enough, especially under these circumstances, to seek help. We try really hard to work against this stigma that you're mentally ill to get behavioral health counseling. Those are two very different things. And everybody needs some level of support. And if all the people in your life are super, super stressed and doing all of that balancing act, it may just be talking to somebody outside your circle helps you be centered and have the time that you need to prioritize yourself. Not all of us are doing the best job taking care of ourselves through this pandemic. We may be doing what we need to not get COVID. But that doesn't mean that we're taking care of our emotional needs and how we think and how we act. It's overwhelming for the highest functioning people. And so there is no stigma about talking to someone and getting additional insights and supports and coping strategies so that you don't end up in a different place on that spectrum of mental health issues.
Jaimie Clayton with us. She is the president and the CEO of Oakland Family Service with us on the Oakland County Megacast today. Jaimie, just a few more minutes with you today before we let you go. Before we do, let's talk about a grant that your organization recently acquired from the Balmer Group. Oh, it's a $1.2 million grant with organizations in our community that are already working overtime and have been financially strapped throughout the pandemic. How critical are these funds to your operation, and where is this money going to be put to use?
We're so thrilled to announce our partnership with Balmer Group. So it's a 3-year grant. That $1.2 million is across 3 years, actually critical. Lots of foundation and funders have stepped up during COVID to do emergency funding. What this funding does is it funds organizational capacity, which not all funders do. Many funders and donors want to do something very specific to a program, which is wonderful. We need program support as well. But nonprofits run skinny, as I'm sure you all know. We end up needing to advertise how little we spend on administration, even though administration is what keeps the agency going. It's a very odd dichotomy in the world of nonprofits. And Balmer has identified the need in COVID for the safety net to continue. And so the grant will allow us to stabilize services currently, but also to look at our future sustainability. So it allows us to continue to invest internally to look at our early childhood programming. We stream together many different funding sources just to support the staffing levels that we have. We'd like to look at new ways to get funding and to bring people in to build size and scale and sustainability over time. The same thing in our Day One program, which is our treatment arm of what we do, behavioral health. We're still fee for service primarily, and we're investigating alternative ways to be paid for performance, value-based reimbursement, which will have a longer sustainability for us. As I was indicating, we are committed to continuing to accept Medicaid, but how long is it sustainable if we lose $40 to $70 every time we provide treatment to somebody? That's not a sustainable model. And so Balmer is investing in us to say that we can take that money, use it to build internal resource and capacity for the long-term haul of the agency. Oakland Family Services are celebrating our 100th anniversary this year, and we want 100 more, and the pandemic's not going to stop us. And this money really frees us up to plan and think and be strategic moving forward while still ensuring that we don't miss a beat in providing services for the people who need it most right now.
Jaimie Clayton with us on the Oakland County Megacast. She is the president and CEO, Oakland Family Services. Such great work that you and your team are doing over there, and we appreciate everything you are doing to keep us safe during this pandemic. Quickly, before we let you go, if someone is listening or watching this right now, how can they reach out to you and your team if they do feel like maybe they do need help?
That's great. Thank you. They can call our main number, 248-858-7766. That number will walk you through some steps to speak to somebody immediately to get scheduled for an appointment or just to get information. We're also on the web, of course, www.oaklandfamilyservices.org. And we're all over social media. If you look for Oakland Family Services on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and all of those have access points to get information on how to access our treatment. Can't miss us.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And we want to let people know it's okay to reach out and ask for help. We are all experiencing things that are different during this time. And if you're overwhelmed, please, there is no stigma. Pick up the phone, make a phone call, and ask for help. Jaimie, thank you again for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Jaimie Clayton, Oakland Family Services. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when we come back, we'll round out the show, heading to Ann Arbor, talking with the University of Michigan's Museum of Art, the director up there. Such a cool establishment, a cool building. However, it's not open. It's not back open, I don't believe yet, Tyler. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jaimie Clayton. I'm the Chief Medical Executive for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The people who are at highest risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 are the elderly and those with chronic medical conditions. That includes people with heart disease, diabetes, COPD, or those who have compromised immune systems. People who are in those categories should right now be staying at home as much as possible and not going out if it is not essential. If you fit into one of those categories, those are the things you should do. And if you have a family member who fits into one of those categories, you should be checking in on them and making sure they are following those guidelines. There's something everyone can do to protect the community from COVID-19.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. You can catch us Monday through Friday on CivicCenterTV.com, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Channel 15 on Comcast, and Channel 99 on AT&T for those of you that do, in fact, still have cable. We want to say thank you for still having cable because you help support programs such as this. And also on the radio, 89.3 WBLD, Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH, Bloomfield Hills, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. Tyler and I are here in the studios working to bring you interesting interviews in a long format with newsmakers and decision makers and guests throughout the greater West Bloomfield and Oakland County area. But today we are also going to extend our reach to the University of Michigan campus, and the Deputy Director for Public Experience of Learning at the University of Michigan Museum of Art, Jim Leha, is with us on the Megacast. Thank you for being our last guest here with us today. You have a big spot, so you have to give us all you got here to end the show. Hey, Jim, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. I'm the 11 o'clock number, is what they say in the theater, right? It's the big showstopper.
But it looks like, are you working from home or are you in the museum this morning?
I am working from home, although I am working remotely, which means I'm actually up north in Oscoda, Michigan. I am looking at beautiful Lake Huron on a beautiful, cool but sunny fall day. And then I'll be back in Ann Arbor next week. So just trying to take advantage of the work from home moment.
It has its blessings, doesn't it? But as far as the museum goes, are you guys still closed? I believe you are, right?
Well, it's a sort of interesting situation where we are sort of open, which is to say the museum reopened right at the end of August, pretty much exclusively for University of Michigan faculty, students, and staff. And the reason for that is the university is being very diligent about continuing to keep density down on campus during the pandemic. But we've been really happy to reopen. A big part of our role at the university is teaching and learning activities. So we have, dozens, actually hundreds of courses that use the museum's collection every year in everything from engineering to art history to public health. So we have faculty and students in the building every day, which is a great feeling, but we're not quite yet able to welcome back the general public. But if you do hold an M card, you're welcome to come and visit. We'd love to see you again. And we have open gallery drop-in hours now from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sundays. And as a part of that, we're also in this collaboration with the clerk's office of the city of Ann Arbor and the University of Michigan Stamp School of Art and Design to encourage getting out the vote.
So Jim with us, Leha, he is the Deputy Director for Public Experience and Learning at the University of Michigan Museum of Art. I think a lot of people, when they think of an art museum in the middle of the pandemic, not a top priority list for them to get there and to visit. But for you and your team, what has this been like to navigate? And going forward, when do you think you're going to see business as usual?
Well, as a person who's spent most of his career working to creatively bring people together in space and time, it's been a very, it's a really challenging, 6+ months at this point. And, we've made a pretty, pretty successful pivot towards online programming and, thinking through, what we can do as a museum to kind of help people keep going, especially, while folks are, challenged with either working from home or losing a job, having to school their kids at home, all the things that folks are dealing with. So we have been providing lots of online resources, which folks can see at umma.umich.edu, lots of self-guided activities. And now we're starting to branch out into to different kinds of in-person programs. One of the things we have coming up that's related to our election projects is a family art studio, which will be focused on creating your own kind of campaign signs using your personal slogans. And typically those activities are easy to do at home with very limited kind of materials needed, with the idea that everyone's just kind of looking for something fun to do on a Saturday. We're really, like everyone, kind of waiting to see what happens with the pandemic, with the vaccine, with the trends in gathering. We think that the museum is a really important space for people to find, relaxation and restoration on one hand. And then on the other hand, it's a really important space for people to kind of hash out some of the really complex things we're dealing with as a society right now, and especially in our country. And so we see our role as really important and as a helping role. And, we've been, I think it's been a period of creativity for us trying to figure out how to do what we do without our building.
Jim Leha with us on the Oakland County Megacast. He's the Deputy Director for Public Experience and Learning at the University of Michigan Museum of Art, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. For those that would still like to engage with the museum, are there further virtual options still available to them beyond some of the classes that are coming up, but to engage with some of the history and some of the art that is available at the physical museum?
It's a great question. I mean, first of all, you should know that most of our collection is available for viewing online through the what's called the UMA Exchange, which is the online collection database. And we've created a number of really interesting, cool kind of virtual tours that folks can do online. I would, check out the website again for ongoing programs. So we are doing a number of online things that anyone can sign on to. And then coming up pretty soon, next week, actually, we are getting ready to install a major outdoor artwork by an artist named Ibrahim Mahama, which will wrap the building in an installation of kind of sewn together burlap bags. And the piece will be really striking and kind of interesting, and is really a kind of comment on global trade and exchange. The artist buys new bags, and then he goes and trades them with merchants for old bags in order to show kind of the wear and tear of what a global marketplace looks like. I think it's going to be just visually kind of an amazing experience. It's all outside, so you don't need to be able to come into the museum to see it. And then later we'll be, in November, we'll be installing another new outdoor work by an artist named Jaimie Clayton, which will be a really kind of visually stunning thing to experience, this piece called Behind the Walls. And that's a new public artwork for the museum that we acquired shortly before the pandemic. And it's, again, I've seen the work of this artist before, and some will know him because he is the creator of the fountains in Millennial Park in Chicago that have the digital faces on them that spit water out onto people. It's a very, very popular public artwork in Chicago that lots of people know about. So it's the same artist who's bringing a work to the museum in Ann Arbor.
That's so awesome. Jim, I've been lucky enough to be there a few times. In fact, one time when I worked at Fox 2, I was able to be there on a Sunday morning. So in that capacity, you're there, you're able to walk through the museum with someone such as yourself that helps explain so many different facets of the museum that maybe you miss when you're walking through it by yourself. So for people who can't be there in person, do you think being virtual allows them, if they actually take the time, because it's so hard because so many people are virtual right now, to take the time, come into our museum, and do you think in a way they may get more out of the museum experience virtually that maybe they wouldn't experience in person?
I think it's interesting because there are all kinds of different ways of interacting with the museum, and it's a matter of who you are as a learner, and some people want a lot of information and some people don't want any at all. And I think for some who really like that deep dive into context, these online resources are really helpful and actually fun and engaging. And then on the flip side of that, for this public work that's going up by Ibrahim Mahama, this work will, so every Sunday beginning October 11th, we'll actually have a docent outdoors kind of as like a park ranger to talk with visitors about the artwork. So if you want that kind of deeper in-person experience, you can get that as well. And I think the name of the game right now for us is, hybridity, right? We're doing a little bit of work inside the museum and continuing to do work online. And, one of the things that is happening inside the museum that's kind of terrific is, the recent Proposition 3 in Michigan, which changed some of the voting laws, has allowed us essentially to open up a city clerk's office where you can register to vote, get an absentee ballot, and actually cast your ballot early. And last week, we registered over 1,000 people, and this was the first week that it was open. And these are primarily students. They're probably first-time voters, many of them, or first time in a presidential, taking care of their voting matters. And this is going to continue all the way up through Election Day. And one of the amazing things about it too is that there's also a group of students who are graphic designers that are working to develop all kinds of design-based projects that encourage students to vote, encourage young people to get out the vote. And frankly, anyone in the area can use this city clerk's office to register and take care of their voting business. You don't have to hold an M card to come and use the clerk's office, which is a perk of doing this collaboration. And we just think it's really important as an institution to really support the democratic process and to use our resources and our space to be at the very heart of that.
So art is an expression of what we are seeing, what we are feeling, and it helps document history. How do you think art is going to document this period that we're living through right now?
That's a really very good question. And
you have about a minute or two to answer that.
Answer it. One thing I know is that the artistic community and artists are under a lot of economic stress right now. And the pandemic has kind of pulled the rug out from underneath them. And there are already artworks being made about how difficult it is to be an artist and how much value artists add to our understanding of the world. I expect there to be work about the Black Lives Matter movement. We've already seen all kinds of work online in social media that's really supporting the movement for racial justice in our country. That is such a huge concern of artists right now. And I also think, thinking creatively about what does it mean to make artwork during the pandemic. We've seen lots of mail art projects where people are sending sort of postcards and all kinds of things through the mail, really documenting their day-to-day experience through different sort of artistic expressions. I think we're going to have a record of our time in that way. Maybe we want to forget it though.
Right.
And we'll see what happens. It's a really open-ended question, but I expect as someone who's both a curator and consumer of this kind of, of artistic work that we will be seeing for some years to come, and we're already seeing it, an expression of this time and its specific kinds of challenges and our strategies for coping with it. So that's my prediction. That's what I'm seeing already. And I'm sure we're going to see it, showing up at the museum too.
I will say quickly, we only have about a minute left, but I remember being in the museum and reading the old letters that were handwritten, cursive writing, back during the Civil War days. And I'm thinking about this new generation where they're not teaching cursive writing. I'm like, but they won't be able to read the letters in the library. I found them fascinating.
That's funny. I know. And then the historians are saying print your email because we want to, keep a print record of what happened too.
Oh, it's just not the same, though. Everyone had such nice handwriting back in the day.
Of course. And as a sidebar, I would say to check out the resources. We have a Vote 2020 site. We've created a really interesting game where we've taken the museum's artworks, and we want to encourage people to use them as a platform for political reflection and talking about, politics and civic life with your friends, with your neighbors, with your family. And that's a really fun way to kind of use imagery and art to talk about things that are really important right now. So I hope you'll find that. We call that the dialogue deck.
I love that. Jim, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. He is the Deputy Director of Public Experience and Learning, University of Michigan Museum of Art. For Tyler, myself, Jake, and Larry, we want to say thank you for tuning into the Oakland County Megacast.